Did you pour everything into writing your book and you're now scratching your head over how to get it out there? Or maybe you recently launched your book and only heard crickets, and now you're wondering what went wrong? Well, my new friend, Sarah Bean, joins me today to share what authors can do before and after their book launch, especially for reaching readers that today are often turning to AI to find their next read. Sarah and I connected on Podmatch, and she is a book marketing expert with book launchers, which you might remember hearing about from the founder, Julie Broad, in episode 199. Today, Sarah's going to share what to have in place for your launch, and no, it's not too late, and how to make sure AI is recommending your book to the exact readers who need it the most. You're in for a treat today, so let's get to it. Sarah, I'm so excited to have you on Book Marketing Mania today. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. I know that, gosh, there's so many things we could talk about, but I really wanted to narrow it down with Sarah to talk about the foundations that authors should have in place before they launch their book. So I have lots of questions about that, but I want to hear just from you, your first response to that, Sarah. What would you say if somebody's like, how do I launch my book? What do I need to do first off?
I would say first, give yourself more time than you think you need. A
Oh, yeah.
lot of authors wait until the book is done to start thinking about it, when in reality you should be thinking about book marketing from the very beginning. From the minute you know you're writing a book, you should be thinking about marketing it.
Yeah, and I know so many people shy away from that, but if we can start talking about earlier and earlier. And that's
Yeah,
something I try to preach, but I think people just don't fully get it, like, well, what does that mean? Like, how can I talk about a book I don't have yet? So
right.
how would you answer that? Like, how do you start marketing your book long before it's out?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that you have to shift out of the mindset of, okay, I'm launching this passion project, I'm launching my baby,
Hmm.
and disconnecting it from this soulful thing that a lot of people could just like, oh, I'm the writer, I'm not the marketer, I'm an author, I'm a creative, I'm not a business person. When in reality, when you're writing a book, you're releasing a product.
Hmm.
So in order to release a product, you have to have a platform. And so the biggest things that I tell people are, what does that platform look like for you? Is it a website? Is it, what does social media look like? How are you going to reach those readers? And if you're making those decisions just 4 to 6 weeks before your book launch, you're cutting yourself short.
Hmm.
So in reality, it's starting to understand that you are essentially launching a business and need to make business decisions in order for that book to be successful and achieve what you wanted to. So that's sort of step one. And then once you start looking at it as, oh, I'm launching a product, I'm
Uh-huh.
launching something that I'm hoping people are going to purchase, then it starts to become a little bit easier to think about things like website and content plans and attracting those readers.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I love the way you put that because it is like I wanna go at it from that other end of like, here's what you do, like 1, 2, 3, 4.
Mhm.
But I think you have to start at like, yeah, the 4, the ending result, right? Is just you want
Right.
people to be interested in your book, but then how do you get people interested in your book if they've never, heard about you in the first place, or anything
Right.
about, the problem your book solves. And so yeah, what are the next steps that you would recommend?
Well, I think you kind of hit it in the nail on the head, right? There's steps one, two, three, and four. And there's things that I'm going to say every author should have regardless of what they're doing. And I'll get into those. But really, I think you have to kind of reverse engineer it,
Mhm.
right? You can't start with just assuming that every book is going to launch the exact same way. You have to
Mhm.
start with what your goal is. If your goal is to use your book to get on speaking stages, then you're going to have a certain method compared to, say, a fiction author whose goal is to sell as many copies as possible.
Mhm.
Not every author's goals are going to be exactly the same. And so once you determine your goal, what is it you are trying to do with this book? It's going to become a little bit of a compass for you. That becomes your roadmap for how you market it.
Mhm.
Now, there are some undeniables. There are some things that every author has to have. Website being one of them.
Mhm.
Now, in the age of AI discoverability, that becomes more essential than ever. You need to have a website that is machine readable, meaning that the machines, the bots, the AIs can all go and read it easily and understand very quickly who you are and what you offer. The
Mhm.
second thing is that is a non-negotiable is an email marketing list.
Mhm.
Now, we have come out of a period where that email marketing list sort of lost a little bit of luster. I'd say in the last like 5, 6 years, people stopped putting time into an email marketing list and really started shifting things to social media.
Mhm.
Problem with that now is that social media is not something you own.
Mhm.
An email marketing list is something you own, so it is your direct connection point with your end user.
Mhm.
So, regardless of who you are as an author, I believe you should have an email marketing list.
Mhm.
Last, I would say the non negotiable is that you have to be present online where your target readers are.
Mhm.
I used to be able to tell my authors, I would have a lot of authors that would come to me and say, I don't like social media. I don't have any interest in building my social media platform. It's not something I use. And I used to say, great, let's figure out how we're going to find your readers in the real world. But now, with AI driving discoverability, if you don't have social media, you don't exist on the LLM's radar, which means you are not getting recommended to the readers who potentially need your book the most. So, those three things, the website that is effective for teaching LLMs who you are, an email marketing list that becomes your direct connection point with your readers, and social media that attracts those readers. Those three things are non negotiables. And those are three things that you can set up far in advance of announcing your book. Those are things that you set up at the start of your journey so that you were building audience while you were working on the book.
Mhm. Yeah, being able to connect with them
Mhm.
and hopefully getting them on your email list. Well, so I want to ask you about that with social media because, so many people, because it's changed so much, right, over the last
It
couple of
has.
years.
Oh my
But
gosh,
if
yes.
someone is making the decision not to use it at all as an author, what do you say to them? So, well, I guess it's two parts. Like, what do you say to them? Period. But then I want you to tag on a little bit more about the AI discoverability because I haven't
Mhm.
heard social be a piece of that. So that's so
Mhm.
interesting, and I just saw it work for me. Gosh, within the last week, I was looking up something like asking AI questions and it started sourcing, and I was like, well,
Right.
then of course my marketing brain's like, okay, well, wait a minute. How did you find that source? So that took me
Yeah.
on a whole different direction. But I
Right,
was
right.
like, wow, everybody's been saying this. And sure
Mhm.
enough, now I have proof, that I
Mhm.
can go ask. And then I'm like, oh, this actually links somewhere for a
It does.
reason. So
Yeah.
talk about the social aspect of that.
Yeah, it's fascinating because I feel like people are very scared of terms like GEO or AEO,
Mhm.
right? Generative engine optimization, answer engine optimization, which is kind of replacing SEO. In
Uh-huh.
fact, even Google just this week came out with their new specifications for GEO. Which all of their search is now moving to GEO fully.
Mhm.
Okay, so people are very sort of scared by these ideas, but the great news, the good news for everyone listening is that all the things that you've already done, you can still do. They just matter in new ways. And
Mhm.
so when I talk about social media specifically, we're talking about indexable social media.
Mhm.
Essentially, what it means is that the LLMs are crowdsourcing information from top social media sites in order to synthesize a direct answer for that person that's looking for an answer, right? That
Mhm.
user puts in something, and LLMs are going to social media to crowdsource the answer. Now, they're
Mhm.
not going to every social media platform. They are going
Right.
to the specific ones that they use the most that we are seeing are LinkedIn, specifically LinkedIn articles, YouTube, but not necessarily the videos. The
Uh-huh.
transcripts and the show notes and those types of things are being sourced by LLMs. Reddit is a huge one. Reddit they go to look for responses to things,
Uh-huh.
right? Substack, some of these other ones are also being used. Medium is a big one
Mhm.
that a lot of, again, Medium, one of those ones that kind of rose in popularity and then died out a little bit, but now it's coming back because it is a credible source that LLMs can use as a citation.
Mhm.
So when you're doing your social media plan, you want to look at, is this indexable? Is this
Mhm.
something that LLMs have the ability to crawl and find information from?
Mhm.
And I think Instagram and some of those others feature into it. And frankly, the big takeaway from this is that LLMs change where they source their content all the
Mhm.
time.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
not just because, 6 months ago they always checked LinkedIn, that goes up or down in importance for LLMs. The big takeaway for authors when they're looking at marketing is it means that they have to have a well-rounded and machine readable presence.
Mhm. Yeah.
So you have to be present in a lot of different places, and be constantly reiterating that message.
Uh-huh.
It's not enough just to put social media content out. That content needs to tie back to your mission, to your goal, to your book, to your brand. It all
Mhm.
has to tie back and be connected
Mhm.
and reiterate your message over and over and over to build authority so
Mhm.
that LLMs know exactly who you are and who to recommend you to. And so, yeah, you're finding the other day that you were able to put something in and it cited you back. You're like, oh,
Mhm.
wait a minute. Okay, I have a presence here. um, there's a lot of content that is out there. Now it's a matter of structuring it so that LLMs can find you, recommend you, and ideally get your book in front of those target readers.
Mhm. Yeah, that's such a good explanation because I was thinking I think I saw somebody the other day talking about that, like, with Instagram, they were looking at their caption, and it was like, the first
Right.
bit of your caption now, that's what you need to be thinking about,
Right.
and that's such an interesting, um concept to explore because I was thinking it wasn't very long ago that we said the same thing about Google. Like, I was
Right.
thinking like when podcasts kind of went on, got more popular, audio podcasts, I say, like you would always go to Google and see YouTube. I mean, you're always going to see YouTube videos on
Right.
Google, right?
Yeah,
Because they own it.
absolutely.
But then it changed. Like it was like all of a sudden now they were showing podcasts, audio podcasts. And it was
Right.
like, oh wow, and then, it just changes, right? Then they start pulling in social media and all the different places, and it just depends on, yeah, where they're getting theirs from. But I was thinking, I like how you explained it because it's not like, okay, you have to be on social media, but you need to look at it as if AI is sourcing it and your people are there, or
Mhm.
you want people to get information this way, then why wouldn't you do it this way? So it's not like, yeah, just go post a bunch of memes on social or go do all these videos. No, no, no,
Right.
no. We're
Yeah.
being very strategic about it, and
Right.
and maybe it's
Yeah.
not something you do today, I was just thinking that's such an easy thing. I say it's easy. It sounds easy, like with like a lot of people will be like, okay, I'm done with social. I'm just getting off social. And I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe you wanna at least have a presence on there because you never know who's gonna go looking for you as an author
100%.
especially, or if somebody tags you, if they've been on your podcast or something, you could just have a presence." But I think that even takes it a step further. It's like, you have your pinned post on Instagram, like, why not make those be, just a one and done, something that AI might search for, like, that's just
Right.
in my mind's like, "Wow, that just blows me away," thinking about it from that perspective, it's not like, "Here's the
Yeah.
list, you have all these things you have to do as an author," but no, let's look at it, from that discovery standpoint, yeah, of how your readers are gonna
Yeah.
find you.
I like
Yeah.
to tell my authors, and I like to think about it again by reverse engineering it. So I have a lot of authors that want to be speakers, right? They want to use their book to get on stages. And, when they tell me that they don't really want to put time into an email newsletter or a website or to social media, I challenge them back then. Okay, what if you want to be on these stages?
Mhm.
The buyers from those stages are going to go look at your website, look at your social media, look at how you show up online to determine whether or not you're the right fit for their audience. If you don't give them the information, then they are not going to book you.
Mhm.
The same thing goes for AI. If you want to reach a brand new reader by solving a problem for them, right? And we're talking nonfiction here. Fiction authors,
Yeah,
it's a little
yeah.
bit different. But specifically for nonfiction, your book is solving a problem for someone. How is that person going to find your book? Well, they're going to go to ChatGPT or, Gemini or one in Perplexity or something, and they're going to put in a question. How do I solve this problem?
Mhm.
You want your content to be in those answers, and you want it to be there so solidly that that end user has no choice but to go, yes, that sounds like exactly the answer to my problem. Well, you do that by carefully and strategically putting the information out there so that AI can pick it up and recommend it to that person. So it's the same sort of concept. It's about how you're showing up in the marketplace. And these are things that you can do before you have your book title or your launch or
Mhm.
your any information about the book. This is information about who you are as an author.
Mhm.
That is major marketing power.
Yeah.
Being able to teach the algorithms or the LLMs or anyone that's out there searching who you are and what you're doing and why you were the right source is marketing that's almost more important than your book.
Mhm.
Because if you
Yeah.
don't have those pieces in place, no one will discover the book. It's
Yeah.
it's no longer about just the book. It's about all of the pieces around it that show why you're the credible source.
Mhm. Yeah, and just how discoverability has changed so much. Like this
Yes.
I mean, I've been doing
Yeah.
this for like 10 years and I think about, 10 years ago when I was discovering books, because I'm an avid reader,
Right.
and I love this,
Yeah.
but it's like just how you don't walk in a bookstore anymore or, you ask friends and, I find like a lot of my friends will just be like, well, go listen to this podcast first, and before
Right.
they even recommend a book. So yeah, it's just, now and again, like with AI, yeah, like that's my husband's answer to everything. Like every time I'm like, oh, I wonder about so and so. I guess I should go Google it. He's like, Google, ask AI.
I
I
know.
mean,
My
it's
husband
still
is the
Google, right? But
same thing.
but it is.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, I guess okay. But yeah, but that now you see like the reader side of it. That's what we do. So then, yeah, on
Yeah.
the author side, why wouldn't you take advantage of that? Because I know along the way of social media, like the algorithm's gotten such a bad rap, which
Yeah.
for good reasons in some ways.
Sure.
But at
Yeah.
the same time, we're the ones teaching it, what to feed us,
Mhm.
by engaging or not engaging. So, yeah, when we want to speed things up and see things we want to see, then, algorithm's our friend to do that,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. It's just a matter of knowing how this information is being used by, by the different platforms. And
Mhm,
and at the end of the day, when an author is looking at how they're going to market their book, I often say put yourself in the feet of your reader, right? Put
mhm,
yourself in their shoes. How do you like to discover books? How do
mhm.
you interact? What convinces you to buy a book? Generally, it's not gonna be, "Well, I just saw the book pop up on my Amazon and I didn't
Yeah.
do any further research." No, it's,
Mhm,
"Oh, because I heard them speak somewhere and then I went to their website and then I got on their emailing list." You have to think as an author how a reader is discovering the book
mhm,
and ensure that you've done those things. Gone are the days of, "I'm just gonna have my publisher do it," or
mhm.
"Oh, I'm just gonna put my book on Amazon and then people will find it." That's not a marketing plan,
Yeah, yeah,
you
it
know?
doesn't work that way by any means.
No, it
Yeah, like
doesn't.
what you were saying, just think about how m like, over the last year, even, how
Mhm.
many books have you bought and what made you decide to buy them? Did you know that like, sometimes it's like, "Well, I've been following this author for 10 years," you know?
Right,
So, I mean, but, like,
right.
it seems like it's an instant, "Oh, they posted this on social media and I bought their book." That may be true, but it's only
Mhm.
because I've been following them, all these years, and I don't know, Sarah, if you use a Kindle, like, I am a major Kindle freak.
Oh, I
So I have
love
a huge
Kindle. Yeah.
bookcase, but I mean, I'm much more inclined to read on my Kindle because I can just take it everywhere. But, I was thinking about, it hadn't been very long ago that I would, like, download, any free book that came across, I'd be like, "Oh, yeah, load it up. Someday I won't be able to afford books, so I need all the books I can get."
Yeah.
But now it's like even a free book, I'm like, do I know who this is? Like, I need to go
Like,
check
do
this
I
person
actually need
out. Yeah, are they
it?
real? Is
Yeah.
it AI? Like there's so many
Right.
questions, but who is going to take the time to do that? You're just gonna be like, no, forget it. So
Well,
yeah,
I
that's
think you just made another really good point there as to why all of these things are important, right? The foundational pieces, the
Mhm,
website, the social media, the email marketing. We are now in a time when AI books are flooding the market.
mhm,
You have the CEO of Barnes and Noble coming out just a couple weeks ago and saying, as long as customers are okay buying them, I'm okay selling AI books.
mhm,
There is a flood of AI books that are out there. Some people are getting duped into buying them. Some people are buying them knowingly. But one of the things that's going to differentiate you, an author, from AI content is your platform,
mhm,
is how you're showing up in the marketplace as a human, how you are connecting with readers. That is going to set you apart from faceless products that are out there that
mhm,
are just churned out by AI bots. And they exist. There are content farms that
mhm,
are just out there putting together books, selling them in the marketplace, and there's nothing behind it. It's all AI, I mean,
mhm. Yeah.
I don't wanna call it AI slop, I don't wanna
Yeah.
blanket label everything, but at the same time, an end user doesn't always know, and so I think what you have to really look at it is, how do I differentiate myself in the market as an author, as a human who's putting forth new ideas, and, ideally being able to attract an audience that way?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me ask you, Sarah, about getting out there and setting up, the platform even can be a negative word, right? To some people, because we
Sure,
think that,
yeah.
how we're judged by numbers by publishers. But, we're just talking about building up your community and getting them excited about your book.
Mhm.
And what would you say, like for authors, particularly like my audience, there's a lot of bloggers, like they've been blogging about a lot of topics, and they have a book coming out on a specific topic. And it may fit under, a bigger umbrella, but maybe it's a little bit different than, something they've been talking about all the way. And I know a big hesitation is, how much can I talk about this without alienating the current audience I have that maybe isn't the buyer of the book? So what would you have to say about that?
I'm sorry, can you clarify a little bit? Like
Like, so say they have a blog for moms, and they write a lot
Mhm.
about, mom struggles, but maybe there's a particular book, like maybe they're going to launch an empty nest book. And
Mm.
so, maybe they're moms of toddlers and elementary school kids. They're not even thinking about that, right? So they're not battling that today. And so then
Mm.
they want to launch this book for empty nesters. And that's all they
Mhm.
want to talk about, right? For a while. But how can they do that, but at the same time not alienate this audience they've
The
been
existing
developing? Yeah,
audience.
to where they're like, "Oh my
Yeah.
god, I'm sick of hearing about this book that I don't need today."
Sure, yeah, audience confusion, right? It's a little bit of audience confusion, and this is something I think quite a few authors deal with. We've had authors who will put out a book, like a fiction book on something, and then they'll put out a nonfiction book, and then they'll put out a nonfiction book in a different audience, for a different goal, and it becomes, they're like, "Where's my through line?
Mm,
How do I keep these people in there?" And so, what I usually recommend for these authors is to do a little bit of a Venn diagram about your different audiences, right?
mhm,
Do a Venn diagram where one circle is, using your example, moms of toddlers and what they deal with. And then the other Venn diagram circle is going to be, the moms who are about to deal with empty nesting and, their kids going off to college and how do they find that next identity for themselves, in the middle is going to be the psychographic things that they deal with, the challenges that they deal with.
mhm,
That's gonna be where you sit as a brand,
mhm,
right? So, whether it's a mom of a toddler or a mom of someone who is about to have their kids go off to college, the main question then ties back to who are they? Their
mhm,
identity, right? That's gonna be the unifying thing. So, when they start to put out content on social media or their blogs, they're gonna wanna hone in on where those circles overlap.
mhm,
And so it can be difficult, right? It can be really tricky,
mhm,
especially if you are writing to different audiences. But what I also recommend for authors is not only do that Venn diagram exercise, but then also look back within their own experiences, their own perspectives, their own journey. Why are they the right person to speak to both audiences? What is
mhm,
that unifying factor? Something about who they are, their story, how they got to where they are, um, and a lot of times it's going to come from, okay, yes, I wrote to these moms of toddlers for so long, but one question that kept coming up is this. And so I decided to address it.
mhm,
And so then you're actually using audience feedback to inform your decision. And you can include that in your content. Hey, I got asked this question so many times, so I decided to address it and have this new product out that's going to help that.
mhm,
You can't be everything to everyone.
mhm,
You just can't be absolutely everything to everyone, but what you can do is feature in your own story and your own perspectives as to why both audiences can learn from you potentially.
mhm. Yeah, that's such a good way to do it. I love Venn diagrams.
Going back to 4th grade
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
with
That's
those Venn
that's so awesome.
diagrams.
I think I could do that, sit down and draw it out right now. That's so fun. Oh gosh, Sarah, this has been so good. I know I could talk to you for hours about book marketing, but this has been incredible, and I'll be sure and put, links to all your resources in the show notes, and I just am so grateful for your time today.
I appreciate it. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I love laughing. I love geeking out about book marketing and books and publishing in general. So great to have the conversation with you.
Yeah, so fun. Thanks. Oh, goodness. Sarah said something that I think we need to keep in front of our minds at all times. It's no longer just about your book. It's about all the pieces around it that show why you're the credible source for them to learn from. Because once they find you or your book, readers start asking, "Who is she? Can I trust her? Can I trust her book?" So put yourself in your reader's shoes. And if she was to go looking for you right now online, would she find you? Would she find enough of your content to trust you and buy your book? And if not, we've got some work to do. And then coming up in our next episode is my conversation with Roseanne Forte, an author who combines neuroscience with biblical truth to help you break free from the thought patterns that are stealing your time and confidence, which might be getting in the way of you reaching your readers, right? I can't wait for you to hear this conversation. Thanks for tuning into Book Marketing Mania today. And as always, I'll be there for you next episode to help you reach and serve your readers one podcast at a time. See you then.